Lamplight Audiobooks presents Goodbye Hamilton by Catherine Cookson, narrated by Julia Barrie. 1. The sun was shining. It was a beautiful day, and I was going to be married for the second time. But with what a difference! The first time had been a more than quiet affair in the registry office to a man who, I can truthfully say, tortured me for 13 years, and who finally tried to prove me insane because I talked to an imaginary horse. Well, yes, I did talk to an imaginary horse. I talked to him because I was lonely and lost. But I'm not lonely or lost any more. And strangely, I haven't seen Hamilton, as I called him, since that day on the ship, when Nardy declared his love for me. At times I felt he was still there, lurking in the background, but he's never put in a real appearance. It was 8 o'clock on the morning of this very special day, and I was sitting in the little study room of my house in Felburn, where I wrote Hamilton. I say of my house, but it was to be mine no longer, not as a home, for I was to let my stepfather, George Carter, and his second wife and her children live here. I was to take up residence, as Nardy put it, in London. Nardy's is a beautiful house. He was brought up in it, and he loved it in strangely the same way that I loved this house. Yet I had no reason to love this house, for I'd suffered in it practically since the day I was born. Being of extreme plainness and having a deformed arm, I was a trial to my mother, then easy prey for the man and his sister who coveted the house and what it held, and who could only get it by his taking me on through marriage. Yet it was the continuous hell experienced in my childhood, my youth, and my womanhood, which created that one compensation, Hamilton. That is not quite true, however, for in George, my stepfather, that big, ungainly, loud-voiced individual, I had a champion, and in his mother also. Oh, yes, indeed, in Gran, for it was her rough humour that had saved me from utter despair more than once. And then I must not forget my flesh-and-blood companion Bill, my bull-terrier. How I loved that ugly animal. And there was one more very important man who came into my life at that time, the doctor, Dr. Mike Kane, brusque, bearded and grumpy. At first I disliked him wholeheartedly, then grew to respect and love him, and it was really he who brought Hamilton into being. After my mother had almost disfigured me with her fists, then told him I'd received my injuries through falling downstairs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?